Kia ora e te whānau o Eden Community Church. Nau mai and welcome to our online service for the 31st of October 2021. My name is Jeremy and it's good to be with you as we share this time together, even if we are doing it remotely. Doing this at a distance, you're watching from somewhere which is different to me, and it's certainly not ideal. Many of us feel either incredibly bored or incredibly stressed at this time due to the lockdown restrictions. You may not fit into either of these categories. Maybe things are going along quite fine at the moment. But as the scriptures show us, we need to find rest. And that rest is in a person. Whatever your circumstances, the God of Naomi and the God of Boaz and the God of Ruth knows your struggles. In fact, in the words of Jesus, who comes from the line of Ruth, we hear a command and an invitation at the same time. It goes like this: "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me. For I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light." Thank you, God, for your command and your invitation, that you promise rest to those in need. Give us today eyes to see our circumstances the way you do. Thank you that you are the God of justice, the God of mercy, the God of redemption, the God of love. Because of Jesus, Amen. As the men's T20 Cricket World Cup is well underway, I think it's only appropriate that we mention our own century hitter at Eden. Doug Briscoe is turning 100 tomorrow, and what an innings it's been. I'm sure there have been Yorkers bowled at you, perhaps even a few wrong-ins, but none of them have defeated you, and by God's grace you continue your innings. So happy birthday to you, Doug. God's blessings on you, and may you continue to shine and let God's light shine through you. Today is also a day where the shops try to make as much money as possible from Halloween. In the middle of lockdown, it's a little bit less than other years, I suppose you could say. But it certainly has been growing over the last 10 or 15 years. I wanted to share a poem with you, one that gives me hope and courage in a fast-changing world. It's about All Hallows Eve, about light shining in the darkness.
Vast armies undead do tread through the night, and in hordes march towards hapless victims to frighten. They stumble in step with glass eyes on the prizes, bunched hither, hunched over in monstrous disguises, in sizes not lofty but numbering a throng, to unleash on their prey the dreaded.
Ding dong!
Small faces with traces of mother's eyeliner peer up to the resident candy provider, and there to intone ancient threats learnt verbatim, they lisp,
"Trick or treat!"
'Tis their stark ultimatum. Thus, region by region, such legions take plunder. Does this spectacle cause you to wonder? Just how did our fair festive forebears conceive of this primeval practice called All Hallows Eve? The answer, if anyone cares to research, surprises. It rises from Old Mother Church. On the cusp of the customary All Saints' Day, the Christian kinsfolk made mocking display. These children of light, both to tease and deride, don darkness, dull down as the sinister side. In preposterous pageants and dress diabolic, they hand to the damned just one final frolic. You see, with the light of the dawn on the morrow, the sunrise will swallow such darkness and sorrow. The future is futile for forces of evil, and so they did scorn them in times medieval. But this is the nature of shadow and gloom. In the gleaming of glory there can be no room. What force is resourced by the echoing black? When the brightness ignites, can the shadow push back? These forces of darkness, if such can be called, are banished by brilliance, by blazing enthralled. So the Bible begins with this fore-resolved fight. For a moment the darkness, then let there be light. First grief in the gloom, then joy from the east. First valley of shadow, then mountaintop feast. First wait for Messiah, then long-promised dawn. First desolate Friday, and then Easter morn. The armies of darkness, while doing their worst, can never extinguish this dazzling sunburst. So ridicule rogues if you must play a role, but beware getting lost in that bottomless hole. The triumph is not with the forces of night. It dawned with the one who said, "I am the light."
We have an e-bulletin which goes out each week. It tells of what is happening in and around and through Eden Community Church. It always has a few prayer points in it as well. This week you'll read that it asks us to pray for Annette as she works with Scripture Union and through the country with families and with children's ministries. As you pray for her, please also remember to pray for the children who aren't at school, as well as the secondary students and the university students who are preparing for exams. And now for our community prayer, please take it away, Eloah.
Kia ora, church. Today our community prayer will be in Portuguese, because God created all the languages. So let us pray. Deus, nós agradecemos ao Senhor por esse dia e agradecemos ao Senhor pela oportunidade de nos conectar através da internet. Senhor, nós oramos pelas igrejas aqui de Auckland, que o Senhor venha estar dando sabedoria aos líderes. Nós oramos por boas conexões. Oramos, Senhor, por uma presença do Senhor nas casas, nos lares, em que as famílias venham se sentir conectadas ao Senhor nesse tempo, Senhor. Senhor, nós queremos orar também pela transição dos nossos companheiros, Ene e André, que o Senhor venha estar com eles, Deus, nessa mudança, abençoe eles, abençoe o Isaac, que tudo venha ocorrer de uma forma muito tranquila, Senhor. Senhor, nós oramos também pelos médicos que estão trabalhando na linha de frente contra o Covid-19, que o Senhor venha estar abençoando eles, Senhor, que venha ter a sua mão poderosa sobre a vida deles. Senhor, nós oramos também pela nossa liderança nacional, que o Senhor venha dar sabedoria aos governantes. Que em nome de Jesus o Senhor venha estar dando a ele tudo aquilo que ele precisam para governar em sabedoria e em verdade. Senhor, nós também queremos orar pelas crianças nesse país, que o Senhor venha estar abençoando eles, Deus, nesse período de lockdown, que o Senhor venha estar com eles, dê aos pais estratégia, sabedoria, abençoe as famílias, Senhor. Senhor, nós também oramos pelos nossos irmãos no Afeganistão, que o Senhor venha estar abençoando eles, por todos aqueles que estão refugiados nesse momento, que a graça do Senhor os alcance. Senhor, também quero colocar diante do Senhor a vida do nosso ministério em Otara Village, que o Senhor venha estar abençoando eles, que as famílias ali possam vir a ser abençoadas, Senhor. No nome de Jesus, nós também colocamos diante do Senhor os nossos anciões e clamamos pela graça do Senhor e a misericórdia do Senhor sobre as nossas vidas. Venha estar conosco, celebrando esse culto e em tudo aquilo que nós fizermos, que nós possamos dar honra e glória ao seu nome. No nome de Jesus. Amém.
He never told me that it would be easy. He said suffering would come, but he promised peace. Peace.
He never told me that it would be easy. He said suffering would come, but he promised peace. 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 He never told me that it would be easy. He said suffering would come, but he promised peace. 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 He never told me that it would be easy. He said suffering would come, but he promised peace. 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 He never told me that it wouldn't be easy. He said suffering would come, but he promised peace. 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 He never told me that it would be easy. He said suffering would come, but he promised peace. Father, peace. Peace. He never told me that it would be easy. He said suffering would come, but he promised peace. 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 He never told me that it would be easy. He said suffering would come, but he promised peace. 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 but he promised peace. 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 He never told me that it would be easy. He said suffering would come, but he promised peace, peace, peace. I feel feel I feel I feel I feel we receive. I feel I feel I feel I feel I feel I feel I feel
As we start the book of Ruth today, we'll hear from Catherine Perrich, who will be giving us a narrative sermon by entering into the story as one of the characters. In the first 5 verses of the book, there is a famine, the migration of a family, a death, 2 weddings, and then 2 more deaths. To quote Catherine, Ruth is a dramatic, fast-paced story which has everything you need and nothing that you don't. Due to Catherine's message being a retelling of the story, we won't be reading the passage prior. However, I encourage you to read along. Thank you, Catherine.
My name is Naomi. I want to tell you my story. My story is one of sadness and loss, bitterness and hope. It begins many years ago when I was a young bride. My husband, Elimelech, he was a good man. He was a good match, my parents. They were so pleased, especially in that time. The times they were so dangerous. There was no king. Was dangerous on the roads everywhere. There were just judges every now and again. Someone would come and make the law and save us. But who knows what? Other times, everybody did whatever they wanted. Each to their own. It was a dangerous time. We were supposed to be people of the law, people of Yahweh, but there was not much law. Oh, of course, we knew the stories. We knew Yahweh, he had brought us out of Egypt. But now, we had no Moses, we had no Joshua, who could read the law to us. But I did not know the law. And so each person did whatever they could just to survive. But of course we had our home, our community. We lived here in Bethlehem, was beautiful where Rachel was buried. But everything was fine until the famine came. It's ironic, really. Bethlehem means house of bread, but there was no bread at all in the house of bread. I had my boys by then, Mahlon and Kilion. They were my delight. To have sons was so blessed by Yahweh. They were young and strong, but as the famine kept on, it felt like Yahweh had abandoned us. I watched my strong, healthy boys grow thinner and thinner. There is nothing worse than watching your own children starving to death, knowing there is nothing for them. You know, I had heard a story from the law once. It said that mothers in Jerusalem, they would eat their sons as a curse from Yahweh. You know, I would have died first and let my sons eat me before I would let that happen. So, what were we to do? When Elimelech suggested we go to Moab, there is food there, I agreed. What choice did I have? I would stay here in Bethlehem and watch my children starve. Maybe I should have trusted Yahweh and turned to Him. But there was no question. The skies were like rock, and fear was God. So we went. We sold whatever we had for the journey. We told ourselves it wasn't so far. We said it would just be for a little while, like Abraham, like Jacob. They went to Egypt during famine. We would come back stronger, maybe even wealthier. And so it was good for a little while, settled in Moab. But then, disaster. Suddenly, there was no compass, no protection. What can I do? I have my boys. I am survivor. So I find wives for my boys, Ruth and Orpah. They're such good girls. And we carry on. And I think, yes, there will be grandchildren. And I wait, and I wait. And 10 years, there are no children. And then my sons both die. And then I know this is no accident. This is Yahweh. He is punishing me. He is punishing me for leaving Bethlehem, for not trusting Him. And I am so angry. I am angry at Yahweh. How dare He? Where was He when we needed Him? When there was no food? And slowly my anger turns to bitterness. The bitterness of being a widow, a leftover, a remnant. You know, that is what it means. Time passed, and I heard there was bread again in Bethlehem. I had a longing to return and see my people again. I wondered if Yahweh would be the same, or maybe kinder now. I grew curious and restless. And finally I said to my daughters, Ruth and Orpah, shall we go back to Judah? And they agreed. So we went. So as we walked, I thought, I remembered things from the past. And I realized how different I was from the young bride, the young mother who had left Judah. I was so full of joy and hope then, and now I had nothing. I was empty, bereft, not even sure of my faith anymore. What was I thinking? A woman, a widow, going back to my people where men are everything. How could I hope to survive even? Suddenly I turned to the girls. Go back. Go back to your mothers. I have nothing. I have nothing to offer you. I cannot give you more children. You will be strangers in a foreign land. There is nothing for you. Go back to your homes. I give you permission. Well, they were such good girls. Of course, I insisted. They insisted they would come with me forever, but no. Eventually, Orpa, she was a practical girl. She turned back, go back to her mother. I thought, I'm sad, but it's a good idea. It's the best. She will grow, she will love again. But Ruth refused to leave. She insisted she would stay with me forever. She would be with my people. She would make them her people. She would make my Yahweh. She would make him her God instead of Chemos. I did not understand then what it was she had seen. But she had seen through my emptiness and my bitterness, and she had seen Yahweh. And she had seen a God who saw her for who she was and valued her. I don't know how she saw this, but she did, and it made her want to know Yahweh more, to see a God, to know a God that knew her as a woman, not some part of a man, but for herself. And so we carried on, but it was a quiet journey. I was disturbed. I couldn't stop thinking and wondering, now what? What was the future for her? For us? Would Yahweh show himself to us? How? We were two women alone. One a foreigner to Yahweh. How could Yahweh accept her? Or me, for that matter? Walking gives so much time for thinking, and I thought a lot on that road. But finally, enough walking, enough thinking. We are there. We returned to Bethlehem. Maybe this is the hardest thing, to return to a place after you have been away, where you were once known. Then I really understood how much I had changed. I saw it in their faces, the disbelief. Is it Naomi? Really? But she's so changed. Imagine it. Imagine. Yahweh must have punished her so much. And who is that woman with her? It's Ruth. Is who? A Moabite. But I saw what they were thinking. I have always been one to say things straight. So I said, don't call me Naomi. Even my name did not fit me anymore. Life was not some pleasant picnic like my name to go and just enjoy. Life was hard. Life had been hard to me. And now I came to this land and I saw Yahweh everywhere. And I realized I belonged here with Yahweh, but it didn't make me happy. Instead, I said, call me Mara, bitter because I am so empty. There is nothing here. I think that was the start of my unraveling. To say publicly how bitter I was, it began to undo the harm, the burden I had carried all that time. I started to see Yahweh and to acknowledge him. I marveled that we had come so far on the road to Bethlehem, unharmed. The roads were not safe, and that I had Ruth with me. What a blessing she was. She understood my former life. She knew my sons as they were adults. And slowly I came to see Yahweh, his loving kindness, his hesed. Ruth, bless her, was not content to be idle. She wanted to work. She saw our situation. No one else was going to put food on the table. So she was young and strong, and she went to work, gleaning, where they pick up the extra bits people leave behind. So I told her, yes, go try it. And she went. Well, she went straight to the field of Boaz, who was a good man. He was a relative, but relatives are not always good, are they? They can be just as horrible as other people. So I was pleased when she went to Boaz. And this is when I see this is Yahweh working. How come she just went straight to that field? And she comes home and she tells me these stories. She is young and strong and getting so healthy. I am so pleased. Of course, my mind was working. We could not stay like this. Well, of course I could, but she could not. What of her future? I'm an older woman, a widow, a remnant, but she still had time. She could not remain alone in this foreign land. So I am thinking, what to do? Boaz had shown himself to be a good man, honorable, generous, but he hadn't done anything else about Ruth or Elimelech or the land belonging to our family. Of course, he was busy at harvest. All men are busy with something, of course. And sometimes you just have to shove something in front of their nose to make them realize. I suppose that's what I did then, Ellie. Maybe people will say that I did wrong, that I used Ruth, that I made her seduce him. I do not think so. I was always quite practical too. A woman has to use whatever she has at her disposal, which in our case was not much. So, did I force his hand? I don't think so. Perhaps I nudged him to think about things he hadn't thought about before. Well, I think Yahweh was in this, of course. But he allows us to use our human resources, our wits, and our bodies to accomplish his work. We were just two widowed women, but God used us all the same. So, I told Ruth to bathe and dress carefully with perfume. No more widow's clothes, although she would need to keep warm on the threshing floor. And watch Boaz carefully where he lies down, and when he is asleep, go and lie at his feet. It was a risky plan, and without Yahweh, it could have been disaster. Imagine the scandal if Boaz had woken up and thought Ruth was prostitute. The end of any marriage then. Or if he thought, oh, you wily Moabite, you get close into me. Well, that would be the end. But Yahweh was there. And he made it happen. Boaz, he was a good man. But he just needed a little nudge. And so we needed him to do the legal thing, which he did, because Boaz, he also trusted Yahweh, trusted his loving kindness. And the legal thing, of course, was to marry Ruth and to redeem the land. But there's another man, another relative, but he does not want to. Maybe he knows things about relatives, families. Yeah, they are not always good, So Boaz, he marries Ruth, and this is where Yahweh's loving kindness is always. He marries Ruth, he takes the land, and Elimelech's name will continue, and Boaz. You know, it seems so obvious that of course they would have a child, a son. But you know, I could not hope. I could not believe that that might actually happen. I had already waited 10 years once. I know this does not happen unless God wills it. But God did will it. A boy named Obed, a fulfillment of so many things. As I look back now, I can see things so much more clearly now. When my sons were gone, I thought it was the end. There was nothing to be remembered by. Our name was gone forever, I thought. And when we have such loss, we want that loss to have meaning. When someone dies so young, we want them to be remembered in some way. So we set up funds, we change the procedure, we crave the meaning for someone, especially those we love. People look at me and think I am a role model. I am not that. I am an ordinary woman who did what she could with her resources at her available. You know someone like me. Perhaps you even are me. You know someone who has traveled from their home and is away from those they love. Or maybe you know them, they have come back and they are a changed person and different from what you knew. Perhaps you are me and you have experienced some of those things and you cannot understand and you blame God. I am fortunate. I had a son and he became the grandfather of a king. And he ultimately, he became in the line of Christ, of the Messiah. But I did not feel like some exciting part of Yahweh's plan when I was on the road back to Bethlehem. We cannot always know what God's plan is, but it is important to stay in trusting Yahweh. Sometimes we cannot make sense of the plan and we become bitter and empty at God, at Yahweh, like I was. But if we see Yahweh and trust Him and trust His loving kindness, this is to be a part of His plan and to be a part of His creation, which is what He has created us to be.
As we move to a time of communion, it's great that we're in the book of Ruth, because one of the major themes of the book is redemption. But it's not only a theme of the book of Ruth, it's a theme throughout the scriptures, that God is a redeeming God, and that He has come to buy us back. He's paid the price with His life so that we might live. And that is why we choose to remember Him through the bread and the wine. So make sure you have something ready to drink and to eat as we watch this video of a few of our people sharing the bread and the wine together.
All these pieces broken and scattered, in mercy gathered, mended and whole, empty. sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. Ooh, I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. Oh, I can see it now. Oh, I can see the love in your eyes, laying yourself down, raising up the broken to You take our failure, you take our weakness, you set your treasure in jars of clay. So take this heart, Lord, I'll be your vessel, the world to see your life in me. Oh, amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. Ooh, oh.
That brings us to the end of our online service today. Thanks for joining us. Now, I'd encourage you to connect with your Connect group. Obviously, that's the reason why we've given them that name. In a time like this, we certainly need to have people that we can talk to and share with, and share our load with. If you don't have a Connect group, maybe you feel like you're on the outside, a bit like Ruth, and it might take choosing to do something about that. But also, if you look at Ruth's life, there were a lot of blessings and good things that came from joining in. If you are thinking about that, feel free to contact Jan and Vicky Lamb, and they will point you in the right direction. We also have our Zoom for all at 11:15 this morning, so come along to that. And Catherine Perrich, our speaker today, will be joining us if you have any thoughts or questions or encouragement that you want to bring to that as well. So thank you.
Every anxious thought that steals my breath, it's a heavy weight upon my chest. As I lie awake and wonder what the future will hold, help me to remember that you're in control. You're my courage when I worry in the dead of night. You're my strength 'cause I'm not strong enough to win this fight. You are great.